There's a version of your life you quietly abandoned, not in one dramatic moment, not in a breakdown or a breakdown of faith, but slowly, gradually. Like how you stopped noticing a sound that's always playing in the background. You didn't give up on yourself all at once. You just stopped asking certain questions. You stopped imagining certain futures. And eventually, you stopped noticing that you stopped. And the strangest part? It probably felt like the right thing to do. Because what I'm about to describe isn't the obvious kind of stuck. It's not rock bottom. It's not crisis. It's something far more dangerous. It's the kind of stuck that feels like stability. The kind of stagnation that looks like maturity. The kind of slow psychological death that wears the mask of peace. And that's exactly why so many people never escape it. Let me explain. We're taught to fear chaos, collapse, failure, but no one warns us about the danger that comes disguised as safety. The danger of living a life that's just comfortable enough that you never feel the need to leave, but just empty enough that something inside you slowly forgets how to hope. You're not suffering in this place, but you're not alive either. Not really. You're managing, you're maintaining, you're surviving, and you've convinced yourself that this is what growing up looks like. But here's the truth. This isn't growth. This is a gilded cage, and the lock is on the inside. Let me walk you through some of the signs. Not the obvious ones, the ones you've probably already explained away, the ones that feel too familiar to question. The first sign is that you've started measuring your life by what you've avoided rather than what you've built. You feel relief more often than excitement. You're proud of what hasn't gone wrong instead of what you've dared to pursue. Your wins are quiet, your risks are small, and somewhere along the way you started calling this wisdom. But avoidance is not wisdom. It's fear with better vocabulary. The second sign is that your days have started to blur together. Not in a peaceful way, in a forgettable way. You don't feel trapped, exactly. But when someone asks what's new, you can't remember the last time anything really was. You're not unhappy, but you also can't point to anything that lights you up. Life has become a kind of low hum, tolerable, predictable, and strangely hollow. The third sign is that you've become allergic to change, even good change. Opportunities come and you hesitate. Ideas appear and you find reasons not to try. You tell yourself you're being realistic. You tell yourself the timing isn't right, but underneath that logic, there's something deeper, a quiet resistance, a refusal to disrupt what you've built, even if what you've built isn't really working for you anymore. The fourth sign is that you've started to feel like a stranger to your own desires. You don't know what you want anymore, and not in a liberating, open-minded way, in a disconnected way. You've been on autopilot for so long that the part of you that used to dream has gone quiet. And now, when you try to hear it, you can't. So you distract yourself, you scroll, you stay busy, because the silence of not knowing who you are is too uncomfortable to sit with. The fifth sign is perhaps the most painful. It's the growing distance between who you are and who you once believed you could become. There was a version of you that believed in possibility, that saw the future as something to move toward, not just endure. And somewhere along the line, that person got left behind. You might not even remember when it happened. But every now and then, you catch a glimpse of that old self, and it stings. Because deep down, you know you're not living, you're hiding. So why do we do this? Why do we choose the safety of stagnation over the uncertainty of growth? Part of the answer lies deep in our evolutionary wiring. We are hardwired to fear the unknown. To the ancient brain, unpredictability was a threat. The tribe survived by staying together, by not wandering too far from what was familiar. And even though we no longer face the same physical dangers, that fear remains. It whispers to us every time we consider making a change. What if you fail? What if it's worse than what you have now? What if people judge you? And so, we stay. But there's more to it than just fear. There's also the cruel trick of hedonic adaptation. This is the psychological tendency to return to a baseline level of satisfaction, no matter what happens to us. We adapt to everything, even dissatisfaction. We get used to the numbness. We stop noticing the weight on our chests. And eventually, we mistake our tolerance for acceptance. Then there's learned helplessness, the psychological state that develops when we've tried to change in the past and failed, when our efforts have been met with disappointment. Over time, we stop trying, not because we're lazy, but because we've learned, often unconsciously, that our actions don't matter. So we settle. We lower our expectations, and we call it realism. And let's not forget what might be the most seductive trap of all, the paralysis of good enough. This is what happens when life isn't bad enough to justify leaving, but isn't good enough to feel fulfilling. You're stuck in the middle. It's not a crisis, it's a slow erosion. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to imagine anything different. Because you start to believe that this is all there is. And here's what no one tells you. This version of comfort, this quiet stagnation, doesn't feel like settling. It feels like being responsible. It feels like maturity. It feels like finally accepting reality. But that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Because the stories we tell ourselves about why we're stuck are the chains that keep us there. You tell yourself you're being practical, that you don't have time to dream anymore, that wanting more is selfish, that you should be grateful for what you have. And on some level, all of that is true. But here's the deeper truth. You can be grateful and still want to grow. You can appreciate what you have and still feel called to become something more. Contentment and complacency are not the same thing, and knowing the difference might be the most important realization you ever have. So here's what I want to leave you with. You're not stuck because you're broken. You're stuck because you're human, because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, keep you safe. But safety isn't the same as fulfillment, and surviving isn't the same as living. And if anything I've said today has stirred something in you, if you felt that quiet, uncomfortable recognition, that little voice saying, "This is me," then maybe this is your moment. Not to change everything overnight, but to start telling yourself a different story, to start asking questions you've avoided, to remember who you were before you decided that staying small was the only option. Because the most dangerous trap isn't the one you can see, it's the one you've mistaken for home. I don't know what change looks like for you. I don't know what step comes next. But I do know this. The fact that you watched this far means something in you is still awake, still hoping, still listening. Don't ignore that. If this video spoke to you, consider subscribing. This channel is a space for the conversations we usually avoid, the ones that make us uncomfortable in all the right ways. And I'll see you in the next one.